as we go live. You are live. We are live. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm here with Jason.
Hello, everybody. We're going live on Facebook as well.
That's right. So
doing our usual little code thing here. Here we go. For live. 3, 2, 1.
All right. So here we are.
Good evening, everybody. It is April 29th, and this is Jason Douglas here with Common Sense News and Entertainment Incorporated.
Okay.
Along with Korbanowski of Yankee News for yet another joint venture.
Right. So for the audience, we continue to be excited and full of, I'll call it fear and anticipation in preparation for the debate.
Yes, the gubernatorial debate that we hatched our own little group. I love it.
Right. You know, there's something important about that, but I want to throw in another dimension here, and it's really triggered by. I guess I'm really starting off talking about Connecticut. We got a world of troubles to talk about. Oh my, do we?
Lord, do we have a world of trouble to talk about?
But Connecticut, you know, in terms of our own concerns, some ways is more serious than what's going on in other countries. I mean, just to make the statement, if you take the time to sit down and study, how should I say this, principles of government, communist China versus Connecticut, you're going to be finding some striking resemblances. I hate to say it, but I will explain later. Because what we're confronted with right now, first of all, is this the so-called vaccine bill that Lamont signed, which is really the state of Connecticut escaping responsibility for healthcare bill. Mm-hmm. And there's still a big question about the impact on informed consent for this. So if they're raising the stakes for things like compliance, how does that stand against informed consent, which means informed, no thanks, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. So unknown. Yeah, but, you know, I really feel like on this, Lamont has really turned into a jerk, a class A tyrannical jerk. You know, he doesn't. And so, you know what, we're going to have to take a moment and realize that we may look to the legislators as decision makers and people who are in charge, but maybe not. Maybe it's their donors. Maybe it's the unions. I suspect it's the unions that have more to do with these things than anybody else. But in whose interest, for example, is it to have a system of government that does what the communist Chinese do, which is to integrate everything into one massive database? So all the information on you about work, here. All the healthcare information, here. All the labor, all the healthcare, education, labor, all here. Mm-hmm. Transportation information, other surveillance information, all one, cars, your driver's license, all one integrated system. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what do they do with that integrated system? They have a social scoring system in communist China. Well, this bill does exactly the same thing. It takes that first step towards taking all that disparate data about you and putting into one coherent system. It comes down to one keystroke. We find you, and here's everything about you, just like that. Mm-hmm. So, and when you have the state doing things that are, what am I looking for? Unjust. Okay, unjust or illegal, they don't care. They want what they want. Mm-hmm. And we as individuals are going to be faced with some rather difficult choices as far as that's concerned. So the same and worse is coming when they get around to passing the homeschooling bill as well. Mm-hmm. So these are like bookends between the stuff with the vaccine things and the stuff with the homeschooling. They both seem to serve the same purpose, greater state control. And in the case of the homeschooling bill, it won't be just control of individuals, it'll be control of families as well. Mm-hmm. So it is an unholy mess. All right. And to me, I'm sorry, what's happening in Iran is dead serious. The decaying relationships between Japan and China, dead serious. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's problems that we're having with NATO and the problem we're having with UK, dead serious. But you know what? What's happening to us here in Connecticut is, as far as I'm concerned, worse than all of that.
Even more serious because it's right here in our homeland.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So tomorrow is Thursday, 10 o'clock, room 18 in the legislative building. Is supposed to be a meeting of some kind concerning these things. I have not been feeling well, but I will probably find some way to get myself there and be a part of what's going on. That's the best I can say right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I have a work tomorrow, but I may be able to join you there if I can find a space in between. I don't know. I can't promise it, but I'll try.
Well, it depends on how much you can, shape your schedule. That's the best I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess there's going to be maybe there's going to be a hearing. I have no idea. At least this flyer that was put up didn't say that. So anyway, so I've talked about that. Now I want to get into a thing here. It's called, well, two different phrases: controlling the narrative and battling the narrative. All right. So you have the local papers, the Hartford Courant, the New Haven Register, others who will put out, what the state wants people to hear about what's going on, whether it's the budget or some other issue or crisis, their way of shaping it. And then you have politicians who will chime in with various comments that are meant to, support, reinforce that message. So there you have, through those means, the liberals develop their narrative in the press, in the liberal press. Okay, well, what do we have? All right. I mean, I can point to the Connecticut Sentinel. I can point to the small audience that we have. There are things that you're doing that are building a little bit, but somehow I just feel like, I don't know, it's not enough. Okay.
No, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And we have to be able to look at this question. So, I mean, another way of addressing this, I constantly look at these things in terms of war. And so when you talk about war, you talk about things like a battlefield. All right. You look out and you see there's the enemy. They're moving in our direction. Those are their weapons. This is how many of them are out there.
Yeah.
What are we going to do to divert, deflect, whatever?
They've taken our major media offices. They've taken our college campuses. They've taken some of our territory here.
All right. Well, they don't have all of it.
No, but they've taken the big chunks of it.
Yes, they have. I will
I'm sure of those things.
And they've taken the vast majority, not just big chunks, but the vast majority.
Yes.
All right. So we've kind of chosen media as a place to fight. And
they've taken some of our seats in Congress as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. On that note, did you hear about this latest Supreme Court ruling concerning using race to do gerrymandering?
Yeah, that went in our favor, correct?
Big time. It was 9-0. So
is that going to force states like California to redo their districts, or is it just going to prevent them from further?
It would force them to redo it, but they're going to drag their feet. They're going to make excuses. They're going to do everything they can.
Yeah.
But the law has been clearly stated, and it's, quote, on our side as far as this is concerned. And the projection is we could be looking at anywhere from roughly 15 to 20 districts that have been blue that will flip red when you take race out of the equation.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah. So especially in the South. Oh my goodness. So there are these two charts. And so let's just say in terms of the current lineup, let's just say there's 10, okay? 10 districts that are Democrat and the rest are Republican. So the South is heavily Republican.
Yeah, it is.
After this ruling from the Supreme Court, we're looking at one.
Wow.
There'll be one Democrat district or something like that. And that is unbelievable. Okay. So in the meantime, though,
if you throw in the fact that we're kicking out all these illegal aliens too, that's going to help bring some of these the 2030 census. That should help a lot.
Yes. Well, we need to see a lot more. I mean, it's good. So I mean, this is the next thing I'm going to tell you about is good news, but it's how do you measure the impact? I can join you guys. Oh, gee, what can I do? Eric, I wish I'd known sooner.
You and Eric and I are going to sit down and talk about the debate tomorrow sometime.
I'm gonna take a chance, see if I can get this to work here. Hold on. All right, so Eric, if you're listening, I'm gonna send you an invite. I just gotta find that little baby there. Okay, bear with me here. This should just take a second.
It's coming in?
No, yeah, he wants to come in, so I'm good with that. So we're doing that. We're doing invite, and then Eric. Okay, there.
Great. I'm going to step out for 30 seconds while you bring him in. Right back.
Well, I mean, I don't know how quickly he's going to jump on, but there you go. Okay. Well, you better make it good, dude. All right. All right. So if you're listening, Eric, I just sent you the invite. I just don't know, what it's going to be like. We'll find out. All right. So he had to go do something, and we're going to talk about Oregon. Okay.
I think I'm catching a cough.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Something's going on with me too, but it's more in the gut.
Trying to avoid it, but it's there.
So here's the headline number. You ready?
Okay.
800,000 names to be removed from the voter rolls in Oregon.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, so that's dead people that don't vote anymore.
All Democrat votes, probably.
Well, that's how they've been used, yes. But that's a pretty huge number, and it's got to have a pretty huge impact. All right.
Wow, that's a huge number. Yeah.
Right.
That's like what's that? Probably a tenth of the population of Oregon. How many people they got in Oregon? 8, 9?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Come on, Eric. Where are you?
I'm going to guess 9 million.
Registered voters?
Or just population as a whole?
Registered voters in Oregon. What?
What's the number?
Oh my God.
2.1?
It says 3.3 million registered voters in Oregon.
That's a fourth of them, then 800,000, a quarter of that. That's
huge.
That sounds right to me. That sounds right. They probably have about 8 million people. What's their overall population?
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'll get that. But you see, that's weird. So they got 3.5 million in Oregon, but Connecticut's got 2.3 million. All right. So here I'm going to get
that many registered voters in Connecticut?
2.3 million. Yes.
You only have 3.3 million people. How can we have that many registered
voters? 3.6, they say. So I mean, I don't know if I can believe this. This is part of.
Sounds like we got a lot of people to take off the rolls in Connecticut too. That's what that sounds like.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been part of that battle. All right. Population of Oregon is
8.5.
No, 4.3 million.
Yeah. That's so much bigger than Connecticut, man.
Yeah, but you're going to find that the ratio. There you are. All right, welcome to the party, dude.
There he is.
Welcome to the party.
Oregon is basically abandoned compared to Connecticut.
Yeah, who knew? We just discovered that the number of voters in Oregon is not much bigger than Connecticut.
Yeah, even though their population as a whole isn't much bigger.
Yeah. Do you have a reaction, Eric?
About the population of Oregon?
And first the population.
Smaller than we thought.
Yeah, so 4.3 million people in Oregon versus 3.6 in Connecticut. Connecticut has 2.3.
4.3 registered.
Say 2.3 million voters. And Oregon has 3.3 million voters. You think of Oregon as so much bigger. Anyway, so the hot news item, I don't know if you saw today, is that 800,000 names are to be removed from the Oregon voter rolls.
That's a lot. That's significant.
Right.
It's going to change everything in Oregon.
I would think, but I expect.
Don't call it Oregon either; they'll kill you over there.
More cases are going to keep fighting it. This is predictable. So yeah. Anyway, you're a little quiet over there, Eric.
Yeah, I'm looking at my the feed in on YouTube, and I'm looking at the feed in StreamYard, and the feed in StreamYard is got the camera the way I want it, but in YouTube is flipped it around. So
Now, when you say if you put up a text, it'll look backwards. When you say flipped around,
no, my image is the camera image is flipped around. It doesn't make any the little moniker down here in the screen. It won't change that. It's just that it's flipped the other way around. And I don't know why YouTube is doing. I think YouTube does that. But let me just
okay, because there's an issue with Facebook. Because Jason was describing how you got that sign behind you there. What is
Welcome to reality.
Welcome to reality. But
does that look backwards to you or forward? The letters look.
No, it's forward.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
Right, but probably from where Jason is sitting and he looks into the screen, it reads backwards.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see.
Right, from my standpoint, it looks backwards.
Right.
Which made me assume everybody looks backward to everybody, but maybe not.
No, it doesn't. I'm telling you. We can.
Well, I don't care if it looks backwards to me. That don't confront me. I know what it says. I just want to make sure it looks right to the viewer.
And it does.
Okay.
Okay. So there's no
let's see.
Says in backstage. Yes.
So another thing I'll say is that
all right. So yeah. So if you want to add that, but I have something to say about Virginia as well.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the proverbial shit is hitting the fan in Virginia. So first you had this referendum, and supposedly the Democrats won with their wacky plan to eliminate virtually all the Republican congressional districts.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, the Virginia Circuit Court rules against it and says, no, this ain't happening. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the Democrats came by and said, well, if this gets turned around, can't we just go ahead and start making these maps? And they said, no. Judge said no. And meantime, you have an allegation from President Trump that there was a huge wad of mail-in ballots that showed up the last minute on the night of the voting. Now you have this process for certification going on where they're recounting everything. And the recount is not going well.
Not going well for Democrats.
No, well, actually for both parties, but it shows there is something clearly wrong. All right.
That's good news for us when we can expose election fraud.
They are the current recount is tens of thousands of ballots out from what they saw in the election. Okay, you can't.
In which direction?
I think they're both too high.
Okay. Oh, too many. I see. So it's about stuffing going on, is what we're saying.
All right. So there is some question.
Just a little birdie told me something.
Yes. How little is that birdie?
Well,
about a 200-pound birdie.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe more. I don't know. But yeah.
Got James Mayer watching tonight. Wants to know what's happening. What we're up to.
Watching on Facebook. Okay.
Watching on Facebook. Yeah. James. Right now we're just talking shop a little bit here, but we're talking about voter integrity.
I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on that interview that you had. I don't know I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Guy from Virgin Islands.
Yeah, right.
Todd Hecht. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what an eye opener. I mean, wow. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like it and what I heard earlier this evening was just confirmation of all of those things that transpired in that interview or in that video. I think not enough people, and I mean everybody in Connecticut that's worth their salt should see that video. Mm-hmm. And because he made some extremely salient points. And I kind of liked the fact that he was able to sort of assess Ben Proto's character, and that's who we're talking about here,
Mhm.
Right.
without being like vitriolic or anything. You know, it's just like, this is who, you know, this
This
is
is
who this
what it
guy.
is. I actually forgive him, he said, you know. I
Yeah,
forgive him,
right,
you know.
exactly. But it's like, you know, this is who this guy is.
Mhm.
And there seems to be just too much of that going around. But what was the other point that he made that was, I found really interesting? He said that the RNC in the RNC, the national RNC,
Mhm.
is basically kicking Connecticut to the curb, basically.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
did I hear that wrong?
Yeah,
Or-
no, that is right. That is right.
Okay.
The
Now,
RNC is there's a lot of good
so
people in the RNC, but there's a lot of bad actors in the RNC as well.
right,
I think it's still true. I heard a long time ago there was a study done comparing all the state level GOPs in the nation, and Connecticut was among the worst run. And still, if anything, it's even more true now.
well,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what's
more-
really weird? I saw somebody a little while ago, and I don't even know how to put this. It's let me put it like this. It seems like when people get into the club, in other words, you're running for an office, and I think this was kind of the point that tell me his name again, because I don't want to forget it. The gentleman's name from
Todd.
Todd. Thank you. Thank you. So the point that Todd was making, it's like these people go in with the best of intentions, but there's a paradigm shift that takes place in their thought or in their thinking, and then they become they start acting like middle schoolers. I don't know what that is. I don't like what
I think
is that?
the social aspect can't be underestimated. That need, that human need to feel like you're in with the crowd.
Or
You're in the
yeah,
mix,
to feel
man.
or
You're
to
hanging
feel
around with a cool crowd, you know.
well, but the other
It's a high school
component,
thing.
but the other point that Tom made that I found interesting is that uh they will only help you if you fall into line and basically, you know, like kind of do what they ask you to do. It's like, we need this done or we need that done, and it's about the donor class. You know, it's
Mhm.
not about representing people. It's
Mhm.
about who you're friends with in the donor class,
Mhm.
and that is in a nutshell. I mean, I've gotten a belly full of politics from age 10, you know, to the present. And I'm honestly just, and many people feel the same way that I do, entirely disgusted by the whole thing.
Yep.
And what was the point? Was it him? No, somebody made the point about, well, the children of Israel. I can't remember who it was, but like, we're in Egypt for all intents and purposes. This is Egypt.
Oh, really?
And well, the analogy is this. I mean,
I gotta go to
this
the
is
pyramids, man.
well,
Pharaoh,
no, this is the like the sort of the antithetical parallel about
Pharaoh Lamont. That's a new one. Okay.
right.
Pharaoh.
Yeah, sure, Pharaoh Lamont, if you whatever you want, but all of these people that are in, and this was the fear of the founding fathers, is that people would just become, you know, subsumed by the idea of power or having power over people,
Mhm.
and this is an age-old human problem, and unfortunately, technology has advanced so much so to the point where, you know, they can get you to basically, they can control every aspect of your life.
Mhm.
I mean, Court probably has read the book. I'm pretty sure the book by Viktor Frankl. When I can't remember the title of the book, but
Yeah,
he was
it's a very
he,
thick book.
yeah, very small book, but
Will
he
meaning or something like that. Meaning something about meaning.
yeah, the meaning of life, or having, or assigning meaning to your life. It had something to do with meaning, but he described, you know, when they were in the concentration camp. I
Man,
think
yeah, man's search for meaning.
Yeah, man's search for meaning, right? So one of the key things that resonated with me in the book, I can't say that I agreed with everything, but the real takeaway for me was when he was in the concentration camp. In other words, the soldiers or the captains or whatever were just like running these people into the ground and being abusive and so forth, and they were malnourished and they didn't have clothes, and he was describing being like they would find a little corner or something in the barracks to go to, and they would like think about something like a Mozart concerto or something, and his point was he said they can completely strip you of your humanity, but he said they can't take away your conscience and what you have like in your conscience. But having said that, where it seems like AI is going, it seems they want to actually be able to take that away from you as well. And so then the question asked is like, and many people just throw their hands up in the air. It's like, well, what am I doing here? What's the point of being here on planet Earth? It's like, what is my purpose now? And there was another a podcast where a gentleman was talking about humanity has advanced so much technologically, so that all of the menial tasks that used to give people purpose and meaning, in other words, having to go to work or dig a ditch or whatever it was, all of those things are being, and this was actually a question I posed to my students back when I was teaching in the 1990s, is that if machines and technology can basically take over every aspect of the human experience, in other words, there's no longer any need for us to toil, what is there left for us to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this was also kind of the point that the Matrix movie was making, is that human beings just become, batteries for AI and tech, and that we're cocooned in these little pods, and our needs or our wants or our desires are satiated within the confines of a facade.
Mm-hmm.
So get rid of the tractors.
Well, it's like, where does all this go? Where does it actually end? I mean, will there ever be a need for people to actually continue to farm? And so, well, anyway, the point that this guy was making in the podcast, not Tom, but I want to come back to Tom, was that people are going to have to get to a point. We're like the children of Israel. We're in Egypt, and the pharaohs seem to have control over us. And so Moses was basically, said, look, we can't do this. We don't want to be enslaved to this system. And that was whole part of the Exodus out of Israel, was not being enslaved into the world systems. But so that's the parallel. And you can juxtapose that entire story against the I guess the allegory of human life itself, or the human condition itself.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's but Tom's point, back to Tom, he really like hit the nail on the head with a lot of the problems that are seemingly endemic in the state of Connecticut. And you see this across in all of the blue states, in New York, in California. And if you go to, and why is it like that all of our cities are largely nobody seems to like really care. Like you go to Bridgeport, there's a beautiful waterfront park there, but it's, it's like
The rest of the city's a dump.
well, no, but even like, okay, so you go to the waterfront, but even the park they got these beautiful like architecture, some very nice art like arches with
From there,
engravings and stuff in there.
Barnum's influence, etc.
Yeah, right. But you look at it's just run down. It's not been properly maintained, and there just seems to have been no.
Okay, well, so there are two parts to that. The second part is the cities brought it on themselves. But the first part is that it's another example of a city that was gutted of its manufacturing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be a manufacturing hub and a significant one, especially during and after World War II. But after that, what happened? In the meantime, what took its place? A culture of corruption that exists to this day. So I have to remind you of the story of Donald Trump when he went there and they were putting up a casino at Bridgeport, where he had investigated the city for several months. I think it was around 2010 or so, I forget. And as he was leaving, the media asked him, well, what's the story of Bridgeport? And he said, I've built buildings in many cities around the world. Now, I've never been to a place like Bridgeport where so many hands are out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Corruption kills your economy. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Corruption kills your economy. So no wonder that Bridgeport has gone nowhere all these decades, because they have too much corruption.
Well, and it kind of, circling back to the idea of accountability, there's been no accountability at all. I mean, what was that Waterbury mayor that got
Joseph Gano?
No. That's Bridgeport.
Oh, Perez.
No. There was a Waterbury mayor probably about 15 years ago or so that got brought up on
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He had sex with a minor.
I investigated that case. I actually worked on that case.
I worked on that case for the federal government. It was an Italian last name or something.
Pedro Perez?
No. Gosh, I can't remember his name. But yeah, so there's been Waterbury, you got Bridgeport.
Yeah, he actually, what this guy did was, it's been a while, I forget the guy's name too. But what he did was, he had a crack whore woman that was farming her 10-year-old to him. So that's what was going on in the mayor's office in Waterbury.
Right.
Waterbury is the most corrupted state in the entire. I know Bridgeport is corrupt, but Waterbury is even more systematically corrupted.
Phil Giordano.
There you go.
That's him.
Giordano.
Thank you.
Giordano.
I knew it was an Italian last name.
Gano's from Bridgeport, right? He's the guy that's running Bridgeport. Yeah, Phil Giordano. He's the guy.
No Italian bashing here. Okay.
Yeah. So,
thankfully.
Yeah, there was him. I mean, and then of course Roland went to jail. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the hell is going on?
Well, you forget the Hartford mayor also went to jail.
So what is that, like 0 for 4?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I guess. It's they're the Connecticut.
It's like help me understand and help me understand why the people of Connecticut don't demand accountability. And this kind of circles back to the whole Ben Pro. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of Ben Proto bringing people in under his wing, and then like at the last minute. And this is kind of these are the points that Tom was making in Jason's podcast.
Yeah,
is throwing people under the bus. And what they do is the way it was described to me is that they have these dinners and they bring people in, you get free dinner, free food, you get them all kind of liquored up and you kind of schmooze and, you wine and dine them and stuff, and you get to figure out who they are. And that's why they do a lot of those things, is because they want to take a temperature on whether you're going to fall into line,
you control you or not,
or whether they're going to kick you to the curb.
Right.
And so most people that want to make genuine change in the state of Connecticut end up getting, 86th.
Yeah.
Right. So,
okay. Well, look, I just have to make a comment about people who want genuine change. All right. And I will make this point through what I will call the consulting profession. Okay. The consulting profession has two types. They will both make a proposal to change a problem inside some company. One consultant makes the speech, delivers the message, drops off the report, and says, thank you very much, and he leaves. The second consultant stays to help fix the problem. Okay.
Right.
We have too many of the former and not enough of the latter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay. So there you go.
We also have downright evil in the midst as well.
Well, yeah. So, but you have
Muck this all up.
what's the passage in the Bible about walking among evil, Eric? You have to have your eyes open.
well, I mean, there's the 23rd Psalm, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That one comes to mind off the top of my head.
Yes, but to be,
Well, we're not afraid of them. That's good.
you know, Amanuski
Is a whole other thing.
likes to cite from, darn, I forget, was it Elijah? But anyway, to strap on the armor of righteousness.
Oh yeah, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness,
Right.
the sword of the Spirit. Yep.
For we are fighting dark principalities.
Yeah. No, for we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that's really what's going on. This this kind of comes and the entire, you know, I hate to get off onto this ontological rant, but I'm going to do it anyway, because how often do I come on here? But this is I keep repeating myself, and it seems to often bear repeating. This is why Jesus was able to say, my kingdom is not of this world. In other words, you can do whatever you're going to do. I don't have any, I don't have a horse in this race. This is kind of what Jesus was, the whole point he was getting at. And when you read the Sermon on the Mount, when you align yourself with Christ and you decide to put yourself into alignment with that, that's when all the fiery darts of the wicked start coming at you and undermining you, because, you know, what is something about the devil doesn't bother with people who are already worldly, because he's already, you know, the devil doesn't come at people that are predisposed to materialism and worldly things. He comes after the people that haven't been converted, you know.
Yeah. How do you explain all these Satanists who are floating around in Hollywood?
Well, you know, it's all out in the open now, right? It's no longer, but we know, I guess many Christians would say that that is an indication of the end time, because there would evil would come out from the shadows and be on full display. But the reason is because the devil knows his time is short. And I think, you know, many Christians would probably follow along with that sort of line of reasoning. I think that, and all of it is a spiritual problem. You know, if I think who was one of the founding fathers said something to the effect like, if all men were angels, there wouldn't be a need for, I mean, I'm overly paraphrasing, there wouldn't be a need for laws, sort of thing. But they were also very infinitely aware of the problems that people coming from other cultures and ideologies would pose once they started, you know, coming into the country. And this is not a slight to Catholics. I mean, I have many friends that are Catholics, but the founding fathers had felt that, well, both Islam and Catholicism were antithetical to the American ethos, because with Catholicism, you have, you know, the parishioners or the lay people would give their allegiance to the Pope because he's the authority of the church. Of course, that ship has kind of sailed now, because I think a lot of Catholics that have been here for generations have been in America long enough to understand that they are sovereign and they are free, and that they don't need to call any man on earth their father. But some Catholics still revere the, you know, position of the Pope, and some might say that that's a form of idolatry. And then of course with Islam, they felt that the whole concept of Islam was antithetical to the American ethos as well.
To say the least.
Yeah. And I really like, would encourage anybody who ever heard of David Horowitz. David Horowitz used to talk about, well, he was an atheist. I think he's a Jew. He's Jewish heritage. But both of his parents, I think, were communists or atheists, but he completely did an about face with all of that. And I can't remember what he wrote, a book called Dark Agenda, which I haven't read yet, but I've heard some of his talks, and he talks about that he keeps reiterating the fact that America was established by Protestant Christians. Mm-hmm. He said that is America's heritage. That is the American ethos. And one of the reasons why the Protestant, I guess you could say, Christian, and the ancient, or the Jews of the ancient world were compatible, is because they believed in oaths. So when you read through, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and so forth, you get the sense of they were very, very they treated oaths as sacrosanct.
Yeah, well, the covenant.
Yeah, they were covenantal people, and so the founding fathers were kind of making that same analogy that an American is a covenantal. Being American, you're making a covenant with the Constitution, and they believed that our Constitution was a divinely ordained document. And materialists, atheists, and other people that enjoin, well, and then of course you have historical revisionists, but there's two versions of. Some people believe that the Constitution was written by old white men to protect their property and their money. Mm-hmm. Jason, you're probably familiar with that. I don't know if you've.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that school of thought.
Yeah, and then, but I encourage anybody to read or listen to a book called "Wide as the Waters" by Benson Bobrick. And the thesis of the entire book starts you off in the 1st century, and it walks you all the way up to the Revolutionary War. And the thesis of the entire book is how the translation of the Bible into English gave rise to the American Revolution. And it's an incredible read.
Yeah, I studied the what's called the CSRV Bible, which it breaks it down into Arabic and the original way it was written and things like that. It's very interesting to learn. I studied that at Eastern of all places. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense in terms of the American Revolution and how it's related to the translation of the Bible, and how actually before that the Protestant Reformation. And the capitalistic, the rise of capitalism came in conjunction with the rise of Protestantism, which was a work ethic of the concept of
and also the spirit of
it all goes together,
and the spirit of voluntarism as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Catholics don't believe in oaths?
Well, you're making a broad sweeping generalization, and I think you inferred something from what I may have said.
Jews.
Sorry?
You said Protestants and Jews take a strong.
Well, that's not what I said. I said taking an oath to the Holy Roman Church is very different from taking an oath to a covenant, which is absent sort of a human institution.
Okay.
If you will. Okay. So the Vatican and the Church is a human institution, and they, of course, ascribe themselves as being the first Christian church, which is historically, ambiguous at best. So, but yeah, if you really need to read that book to get a sense to understand what he was implying by this idea of covenant. There's also another interesting book by a journalist in Seattle, and he was actually writing about the idea that Seattle was basically sort of a window into America's future. And
Well, I hope not. I was in Seattle in May of 2020 or June of 2024. I was in Seattle, and that place is that's indicative of our American future. We got a lot of problems on our hands.
Well, look, I mean, look what's happened to Canada. I understand that. I think that they're banning the Bible. The Bible is completely off limits in China, and but you know, this penchant for continuing this experiment, farting around with communism and socialism and all these things, and you can see the fruits of all those endeavors. It ends up being no good for anybody.
You say this, but you have enough people in Canada who still believe in it to keep voting those creeps into the office.
Well, but do they? I mean, I think some people in Canada there's Alberta, which is probably one of the outliers, but
you can't underestimate voter fraud and election fraud and all this.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, if it's all coming and I agree with you with Court when he says that many people will just still, but I think that this comes back to the idea that a lot of people believe in the authority of the state. A lot of people genuinely believe that politics and the authority of state of the state is what will alleviate or satiate all of humanity's problems. And it does exactly the opposite.
That's exact opposite.
Because people, again, this goes back to idolatry. People deify other people or put their faith and their trust in other people.
There's also the factor of the free ride. People are looking for a way out, and I have to work to get a free ride, and they think the state is their ticket to that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that's a big part of it.
I agree.
People don't want to have to work. It's sad.
Yes.
There's no need for a social. They talk about a social safety net. I always say that the socialists, you're going to have a socialist, welfare office in the government. It's be like that little small office down at the end of the road where there's only like one or two people working there, and then basically, if you need help, we want to help people that need help. If you can't take care of yourself, then the second step is your family and your friends to take care of you. And if there's nobody there to take care of you, the next step is private charitable organizations, which thrived in the 19th century. Then and only then, after all that is exhausted, would the government then help you? And guess what? How many people would have exhausted all three of those things? Can't help yourself, family and friends can't help you, private charities can't help you. That doesn't mean leave very many people left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this kind of also goes back to, I don't know why this kind of popped into my head. I was watching another podcast I like to binge watch like Court does, science videos, and the reason I do this isn't because I like to sit there and twiddle my thumbs and listen to people. I actually like to take a barometer to see where human thinking is in terms of, understanding the overall, I guess what some might call reality or the problem of being, if you will. But so the idea of AI and tech is that it's going to alleviate and or eventually eliminate all of the need for human beings to do things like make phones and or make cups or build tables and all this sort of thing. But the problem with that is kind of the same problem that they were talking about, and I'm sort of drawing a parallel here. They were talking about there's a theory that the universe went through these it was created then destroyed, then created then destroyed, then created then destroyed. So that's one of the theories. But he says the problem with that theory is like when you take a ball, right, and you drop it off of a table, it bounces, but it doesn't bounce as high, and then it bounces, less. The elevation of the energy dissipates until it finally just is exhausted.
Yeah.
So he said that's kind of the problem with thinking that the theory of the universe collapsing in on itself and then recreating itself or whatever, which I don't really agree with. But I think that the universe is infinite. I don't think that we have instruments that can that will ever be able to calculate the true size of the universe. But this kind of just goes back to, again, the idea that are we alone in the universe, and the Fermi paradox and all this sort of thing.
Well,
And I don't think that I mean, this is my opinion, and it's for all of it's worth in a cup of coffee. But I don't believe that there are other beings that are either like us or have evolved like us or whatever. I just don't.
well, who's that little gray man behind you, Eric?
Yeah.
He just left.
You're seeing things now. But and the reason I kind of feel that way is well, even from a secular point of view, there's a mathematical equation that approximates like how long would it take to create a single protein,
Right,
and all of these other things. So the human condition is indeed a paradox. I will say that. I don't profess to know all the answers, but I think I understand it for what it is, and that's probably the best I can do in terms of coming to some sort of platform of explaining it. But and all these things tie back to, again, the human problems that we're kind of dealing with in the here and now, and particularly in Connecticut. It's like this idea that people think that they have to control other people, or that my ideas are better than yours, sort of thing. But yeah, when's the last time you've heard any politician, I mean, genuinely, any politician invoke the name of God or talk about God at all? The founding fathers, if you read a lot of the notes,
Trump does.
Yes, he does. Yes, to his credit, he does. If you read a lot of the exchanges between the founding fathers, like in the Darien Baptists and stuff, I mean, they were frequently talking about God and Christ and all that stuff. But you look at the arguments that do you think that the state of the union would be in the mess that it's in if at least more than half the people would actually invoke the name of God on the House floor and pray for the peace and unity between both parties?
Well,
but nobody does that. Nobody.
Yeah. So there's the sense that there's this growing chasm between the church and the state when it comes to spiritual beliefs.
Well, when I was born, 90% of the people identified themselves as Christian. And now that number is more like 69, 70%. So
I'm not sure it's that low, but it may have decreased. But
quite a bit.
We've seen times when it's kind of spiked up as well.
It spiked a little after 9/11, and apparently it's spiking again now since Charlie Kirk has been assassinated.
Correct. So
Well, that was kind of the was that the point that he was making? But somebody else made
the RNC was behind that.
Well, yeah, and there it is. I mean, it
sounded crazy at first, but then when he explained it made sense.
Is that the smoking gun?
Yeah.
Because the Republican Party professes to be the conservative, quote, Christian party, or it professes it, but it certainly doesn't act like it.
Well, I think what happens is the other side infiltrates it. It's infiltrated with moles and with bad actors that come in here and pretend literally wolves in sheep's clothing, if you want to borrow something.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, and the reason why they want people in politics that don't believe in God is because they can be, again, this comes back to they're moral idiots. They're morally weak. In other words, well, look what happened. I mean, come on. Eric Swalwell,
Yeah.
he's finished.
Talk about
How many?
duplicity, man.
Remember Anthony Weiner? He's done.
Yeah.
You know, these people that are morally vacuous are, for I guess for the establishment, make great politicians.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the metric for a good politician is somebody who will go along to get along and who plays ball. Not somebody who has any
principles of
any principles.
leadership.
And I really want to talk about members of our own party here in Connecticut, but I am going to err on the side of wisdom and reserve my comments till.
Well, are you suggesting some of our?
Well, I want to reserve a lot of my commentary because, well, there's the legal aspect of it, and I don't want to, be drawn or dragged into a to-do about something I say here online. But I will wait until I guess this election cycle is done here in the state to sort of evacuate my thoughts about all of this. And the people that are being propped up, or
Eric, can I just say you're talking funny?
Huh?
You're talking funny.
What do you mean?
Evacuate my thoughts.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is going to happen.
You got lost all the way back there.
I think the situation is hopeless, you guys, in terms of elections. I think that we're going to end up having a horrible, bloody civil war again.
Oh, here we go, that again.
Yeah, it's another.
Well, I don't.
Question of when.
I
wish I was wrong, but
I think what will probably happen.
This is boiling up.
This is my sense of what will probably happen. You'll have people that will refuse to participate in the system any longer, and that's already started to happen.
Sure.
I mean, Tom is a textbook case of somebody who just decided, you know what, I'm just going to live the rest of my life the best I can, navigate my way through the shoals of this human experience until it's time to give up the ghost.
What? The people that do that will be on our side, because the other side is they're brainwashed.
Right.
And so if what you're saying is true, then we're going to lie down and they're just going to run us roughshod over us.
Well, and it's the idea that, again, politics. I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche said that religion is the opiate of the masses, but for many people today,
Karl Marx.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karl Marx. Well, it was one of those atheists, right. But politics has become the opiate of the masses, and politics is for many people a religious experience.
That's correct.
Let's
be clear, not just politics, but political ideology. So you hold on a specific set of beliefs, and everything in you hangs on to those beliefs.
Right.
I don't think the mental illness aspect can be underestimated here.
Well, all right. Again, I'm going to bring up the walkaway movement. Okay. All hope is not lost. Okay.
Well, here's the thing, though. When we went to our nation's capital once upon a time, Court remembers this.
Yes, I do.
There was a genuine sense. I mean, first of all, I felt like I was attending a funeral. I mean, that was kind of the general sense in the atmosphere that was kind of prevalent. But there was also a very genuine sense of community. I mean, everybody was just like,
yeah.
I mean, that to me, I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced America on the scale or the magnitude like that. To me was what America was about. That's what America is.
Well, So we're
Like-
talking about large numbers of people gathering in one place as a concept of what America is all about. We know it's more than that.
Well, you're missing the point. It wasn't just about the people that were present there.
Well, the freedom
It
of
was
assembly.
it was the idea that all of these people that probably, if you like put all of their lives on the table, you wouldn't recognize one from the other. But this was kind of the problem the founding fathers had when they were hammering out the Constitution. And I understand that there were moments where they were, nearly at each other's throats, and they would yelling at each other and fighting and arguing. But it's no small miracle that you had 74 or more men coming together to agree on a single document. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of comes back to, they appealed to the divine. They appealed to the authority of the divine. And that's what saw them through that whole experience and gave us what we're seemingly very quickly losing today. So, but yeah, that experience was, for me, a watershed moment where we were all to put it biblically, of one accord in one place.
Sure.
So,
all right, gentlemen. With that, any closing thoughts before we wrap it up for tonight?
Mr. Douglas and Mr. Court, great seeing you guys. Great being here with you guys. Thank you for
Three of us
hosting.
got to talk together tomorrow about the debate.
Yes,
What time the three of
definitely.
us can throw
Not
us together.
debate, but also the equipment,
Beyond the debate,
the equipment,
the equipment, the debate, and beyond.
Well, I've already picked up some of the equipment.
See that? Looks snazzy.
Yeah. So, does it sound good at all?
You sound great. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
It has
I don't
sort of,
notice any issues.
to me, it has sort of a crisp sound to it.
Okay. Well, I think right now it's just like unfiltered. There's no EQ or settings. It's just raw. It's just a raw feed right now. But if you plug it into a board, you can, sweeten the sound, as they say in the industry of it. So anyway, listen, great to be with you guys tonight, and
Great to have you.
and
We'll talk tomorrow offline, and we'll get our ducks, and three of us. We got to come up with time tomorrow and talk, get everything in a row.
sounds good.
All right, gentlemen.
Have a good night.
Checking
God bless for Common Sense News.